Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best of 3 series that's a qualification match for the European server for a tournament called the Masters Coliseum. This is one of the first big tournaments of 2023. 2024. It's taking place online in January and there's about $42,000 on the line. It's organized by SC Boy, the Chinese tournament organizers. So these two pro gamers are certainly going to try their very best to make it as deep into that particular event as possible. So spotting right here in game number 1 in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss pieces, we have ShoWTimE. His opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Reynor. Interestingly enough, Reynor is the one here, opting to go for a 15 supply hatchery. It's really interesting to me how, maybe a half year or so ago at this point, Eric, the Brazilian Zerg player who we haven't really heard a whole lot of ever since he came up with this build. I mean, it's not rocket science, it's a build that we used to see quite a bit, but Eric, once again, repopularized it. Reynor was one of the few players that really didn't play 15 hatch openers. So, real quick, in case you haven't watched a lot of StarCraft 2 over the last couple of months. Long story short, for the longest time, the way that Zerg players open up with a hatchery first has been the same. So they go for a 16 supply hatchery, so a 13 supply Overlord, 16 supply hatch, into an 18 supply gas geyser, and then a 17 supply spawning pool. That is what players did for a very, very long time. In Zerg versus Protoss players, generally speaking, start the game off by sending a probe across the map real early, and they will block the Zerg's natural expansion. Zerg players now for several years have responded by, rather than taking their natural, they send the drone a little early. If they see the probe coming in, they move on over to the third base instead. And that's how they've been playing, I want to say 9 out of 10 games. It's very common to see Zerg players taking their third base as their very first expansion. Because of that, a lot of Protoss players have felt pretty good about themselves because, say if you want to go for like a Glaive Adept all-in, right? An early game pressure. Since Zerg is going to be, kind of disconnected, there's quite a few difficulties that Zerg run into. But obviously since, well, these top-level players, they play the game a lot. They've got a lot of experience playing with their third base as their very first expo, so it's not really that big of a deal. However, obviously it's much easier if you can just take your natural expansion as the very first, well, structure. It turns out, Eric, the Zerg player that I was bringing up, he decided to go for an extractor trick opener. So he goes for a extractor trick. So he builds the extractor, adds on 1 drone, cancels the extractor, which causes Zerg to go up to 15 out of 14 supply. Then they go for the hatchery on the low ground, which essentially allows them to get that completely uncontested. That is too early for a probe to ever be able to block it on a standardly sized map. There are still some maps out there where if the rush distance is really quick and Protoss starts the game off right away by sending a probe, they can still block a 15 hatch as well. However, 9 times out of 10, probably 99 out of 100 maps, you can actually go for the expansion first on the low ground regardless. Now, what Eric did that was new and a little different is go for the extractor trick into a 15 supply hatch. We're diving straight into the details here today, okay? Then he would go for another extractor trick, bring him back up to 15 out of 14 supply, and then he would go for a 15 supply Overlord. So it's 15 supply hatch, 15 supply Overlord into 15 supply spawning pool. There you go. Does this still make sense? It makes sense in my head because I've played these builds 100 times myself, but maybe I'm just throwing numbers out there. Maybe all you heard is 13, 14, 18, 15, 15, 15. Maybe that's all you heard. Anyways, doesn't matter. I know a lot of you like to watch these videos whilst, like, for example, falling asleep. I've had a lot of people over the years mention, Lowko, I like to watch your videos when I go to bed. I guess I take it as a compliment. I'm not entirely sure. Personally, I've done that with Bob Ross as well, and I absolutely love watching Bob Ross, so I guess I'll take it as a compliment. But for those people, I'm sorry, I woke you back up. Maybe actually your videos are on autoplay, and I'm whispering this to you at like 4 in the morning. A little bit of subliminal StarCraft 2 build ordering. You love to see it. I've heard of people that like don't want to study in high school or university or whatever, and they like leave audio versions of the books they need to study up in their headphones, and then they try to fall asleep. And the idea is that you like learn as you're asleep, because subconsciously you should be able to pick up at least some of the information. I'm not entirely sure how useful that actually is. But hey, maybe those people will wake up with a 15 supply hatch. That would be, yeah, that would be quite the build order to be implementing. Anyhow, so far, not a lot of success right here for Mr. ShoWTimE. Yeah, he's not achieved anything, which is really nice, of course, for Reynor. Now, here's the real first aggression coming in. He's been poking and prodding for a little while already, but these adepts also not achieving anything. Oracles so far have done basically no damage. Excellent movement here by Reynor again. Yeah, really showing us that he is not to be underestimated. I know Reynor himself has been talking a little bit about the fact that he's being a bit rusty and he's not that good at the game and blah, 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 blah. I actually think he's, what he did at Gamers 8, I think he like stayed over at his grandma's place for an extended period of time. And he practiced StarCraft 2 over at grandma's for a while. I believe, I should probably pull this up, but I think he tweeted about that once again, if I recall correctly, that he's once again gonna do a hardcore practice session over at grandma's for a while. He did that for the Gamers 8 tournament. So that was one of the biggest tournaments of 2023. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think that must have been right before that one. Anyways, he ended up winning Gamers 8. So, Grandma's spaghetti, I guess? Grandma's pasta, coming in very strong right there from Italy. No idea if his grandma lives in Italy, but probably. Anyhow, what do we have here? Well, we have a pretty failed early game for ShoWTimE. I say failed, it doesn't really matter that much. He's been going for a quick expansion style himself as well, so gateways are coming up right now. Obviously, ShoWTimE is not a risk taker, okay? Like, risk... Yeah, risk is just not something he really likes to take. So, ShoWTimE is like, if your daughter shows up with ShoWTimE, right? And she's like, look, Dad, this is my new... I would definitely give my seal of approval if it happens to be ShoWTimE. The man not only is very protective of his units, he also has amazing posture, and in general, he just seems like a safe bet, you know? If you compare it to some of the other Protoss players out there, I've seen some of Parting's games again after he came back from the military. The guy is certainly still a risk taker, and if your daughter shows up with Parting, I mean, great guy. Really nice dude. But certainly a bit more of a gambler, is all I'm saying, okay? He may very well be putting the house on writ if, they get on tough times. This cast has been all over the place. I tried making up for being incredibly analytical in the first 4 minutes of this cast. Yeah, maybe it's a little much. Anyways, we've got ourselves a big attack right now coming in for ShoWTimE. This is just Zealots. Yeah, it's just Zealots. So, I don't think this is really gonna do that much. Reynor has droned pretty hard. Oh, I really do like these little stasis wards, though. One of them gets shut off. Second one will be triggered as well. Excellent control right there by the Italian Zerg. Okay, good bit of damage done here by ShoWTimE so far. If he can kill the base, that would be really nice, and I think he is going to be able to target firing down here. Okay, that stasis ward certainly is going to deal a lot more damage here. And ultimately, okay, we're going to recall some of the units away. Ultimately, that's 7 drones plus a hatchery going down. A bunch of roaches and Zerglings also fell at the cost of just 13 zealots. I think that is a trade that ShoWTimE will be able to make any day of the week. What has he been spending all of his gas on, though? Okay, so apparently we've decided to go for a bunch of Templar. Psionic Storm coming up. 4th Nexus will be building over here at the 12 o'clock position as well, it seems. 4th Nexus is a little late. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things. I'm not in love with that one. Hive is already done right here for the Zerg. So that's a very quick Hive actually here for Reynor. And he's got a Spire coming. So maybe he's thinking about going into Brood Lords. Certainly would not be crazy. Even though it's not the fastest possible Greater Spire, it can still do a lot of damage. Mostly just rushing up, yeah, to Adrenal Glands as well as the Viper transition. Vipers really have become a very, very popular unit at the highest level of StarCraft 2. Every Diamond League Zerg out there absolutely hates Vipers. My current working theory is that Diamond League Zergs are allergic to Zerg spellcasters. Unless their name is Brenda, of course. The Queen is a very powerful tool, but Infestors and Vipers, that is the stuff of nightmares. Very difficult units, of course, to control properly, but there's certainly a theme when it comes to both Zero and Reynor. They like to go for some very quick Vipers. Okay, so Spire here gets spotted. Well, I guess that's one way to get rid of the Prism. Yeah. 120 damage. Brenda gets to get the hit. Beautiful work, Brenda. Well done. Sorry. Hold up. Round of applause for Brenda. Thank you very much, Brenda, for contributing to this game. So the Greater Spire is indeed coming. That puts ShoWTimE's unit composition here on a bit of a timer. Archon Immortal, Zealot Storm, it's incredibly good against this. But it's very bad against units that fly. As you may have already guessed. Brute Lords are certainly capable of shutting that down with relative ease. And maybe this is why we're going for the Vipers, man. We're not really rushing them out to, I don't know, abduct anything super critical. But we're just making it hard for the Protoss player to attack. Yeah. We don't have a Stargate transition just yet. I mean, we have that Stargate from the early game, but no fleet beacon, no additional Stargates or anything along those lines. Instead, it's gonna be a focus on Blink right now, but that's relatively late in the grand scheme of things. How is ShoWTimE going to hold on against this Greater Spire transition? Well, at this point, we don't have any Corruptors yet. Also, because Reynor is currently maxed out. Yeah, he's got 5 Corruptors coming up, but he can't actually... He needs additional supply available in order to actually make any Greater Spire units. So right now he's maxed out. He's going to have to attack. Any trades here would be nice. No trades right there, though. I don't think he got anything. Maybe a Zealot or 2 would be good, but this is a little expensive. Then again, though, if you get like... I want to say like 8 to maybe 12 Brute Lords against this is just not an army that can really cut it anymore. Maybe if Stalkers get underneath, there's a chance. This is one hell of a push, though, here for ShoWTimE. Perfect timing for him. Brute Lords are not out yet, so they're currently morphing in. I think the push is actually ever so slightly late. Unless he jumps in, kills the base, and goes back home. +1 air weapons, by the way, are researching here for our Protoss. Zealots on the right side of the map, too. Roach Ravager in the back, trying to deal as much damage as possible, but great split off right here by ShoWTimE. Actually, a really lovely work. So he doesn't know exactly when the Brute Lords are going to be coming, but I really love what he did here. So he defended at home, kept that 5th Nexus alive, killed a hatchery over here, and distracted the Zerg on the right side of the map. That sequence of events was pretty much perfect right there for ShoWTimE, but other than Stalkers, he does not currently have units, okay, that are going to be able to shoot up. Fleet Beacon, Stargates, all of them are coming right now. Reynor doesn't know. That's one of the problems here, right? He doesn't know if there are already like a lot of, I don't know, Tempests waiting over here. There could be 3 Tempests just chilling over here in the natural expansion. Do you really want to move in when you don't have any other anti-air units yourself? Probably not. So these Brute Lords, luckily for ShoWTimE, it looks like they're going to be played pretty defensively. Second Spire coming up. Ultra Cavern also on that production tab. Once again, Protoss moving in on the right as well as on the left. Excellent movement here by ShoWTimE. Yeah, really good work here. I love the fact that he decided to split up his army. So he knows Brute Lords are out right now, and he also knows that Brute Lords, whilst they did get a speed buff, are not really capable of being split up. They can't really defend both sides of the map. So yeah, if they're spotted here on the right, look at that. Protoss army moving in on the left. That is an awful lot of spine crawlers, though, and ShoWTimE sees them, but I think Immortals are going to have a pretty good time. Stalkers actually managed to get underneath, yeah. Good work right here by ShoWTimE once again. Gets a good Storm off, couple Archon deal some damage. Immortals over here. I don't think you guys want to stick around anymore. Nah. Yeah, overextension right there by the Protoss. Does get a Viper for his troubles. Okay. Oh, he decides to warp in 10 Stalkers. Yeah, the advancement here of the Brute Lords on the right side of the map is a bit scary. Fungal growth potential right now. Double upgrades here for the Zerg. Okay. ShoWTimE going for a CEST. What? What just happened? I'm gonna switch to ShoWTimE's vision. This is ShoWTimE's vision right here. What? He just canceled his own Nexus and then rebuilt it immediately. Obviously, there's a lot going on. I don't know what he did. That was something that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay. Sometimes your speed can work against you. Speaking of speed, though, ShoWTimE playing a really fast game. 442 average actions per minute is actually very substantial for Protoss. Mostly because the Zerg APM is inflated, so I think these guys are probably playing at about the same speed. Reynor is known to be probably the fastest pro gamer out there. It's either him or Clem. ShoWTimE seems like he's sped up actually over the last year or two. I always kind of felt like ShoWTimE was more of like a 350 APM kind of guy. Although it's a difficult statistic really to draw a lot of conclusions from. Mostly because, if you're unfamiliar, repeat rates and repeat delays and holding down buttons and modern computer hardware, it makes it just not as reliable as it used to be back in 2010. Fungal growth over here, making it difficult for these Protoss units to escape. Stalkers are prohibited from blinking, and this is a really good catch right here by Reynor. Morphs in even more Brute Lords right here in the face of danger. What a fight. In the meantime, though, that's because only half the Protoss army is present there. In the meantime, there is an attack over here at the bottom. Those 10 or so spine crawlers are going to be killed. That is 1,000 minerals, plus the cost of the drones, of course, so very substantial. And a storm, okay, storm push over here as well at the bottom. It's just about to say storm drop, but that's not what it is. Ultimately, though, this was a chunk of the army of Protoss in exchange for, yeah, a bunch of spine crawlers, right? And that Nexus also fell, so certainly a superior outcome right there for Mr. Reynor. Trying to get a little bit of work done over here. Okay. Tempest are on the production tab now. Ultras are also coming. The Roach Ravager Bull is being traded out. I think this is definitely the moment in the game where Reynor is more than happy to lose these Roaches and Ravagers, because they're too supply heavy. Not usually very efficient. All of this being said, though, look at the worker count at the moment. So ShoWTimE, yeah, has got substantially more income here than Reynor, even though he's the Protoss. Now, that's funny to me because this is the style that Reynor plays when he plays Protoss. Mass worker, mass upgrade, and then, well, a lot of movement around the map. Maybe Reynor's playstyle with Protoss has been inspiring guys like ShoWTimE as well. Yeah. You were supposed to beat them, not join them, Reynor. Sometimes the dark side may just be a little bit too enticing, huh? With Storms over here. Honestly, brilliantly played game right here by ShoWTimE. I really didn't like him getting caught over here, right? Like, this section of the map was really tough. Maybe a little bit of bias going into this particular series, but Reynor is, in my mind, certainly the favorite. The guy is just so good. The thing is, right, ShoWTimE's very good at late game. However, Reynor's better. At least in my mind. So the way that ShoWTimE plays usually leads towards these sorts of scenarios. And it works really well. Unless you're going up against like Reynor, Serral, Dark, right? Like those are really the guys that you have to be worried for. Basically all the other Zerg players out there, he will be able to dominate in the late game. But there's only a few where I feel like ShoWTimE is gonna have an uphill battle, and this just happens to be one of them. So the way that his playstyle lines up with that of Reynor's, I feel like ShoWTimE forcing the late game 9 times out of 10 is not necessarily gonna work in his favor. But he's holding his own just fine. Still maxed out, still one hell of an army, still very good economy. So let's see if his control can be up to par. He decided to go for the Mama ship. I love the Mama ship, I think it's very good. For 300, certainly not a bad choice. And obviously, if anything, right? It's just another way to recall your units around the map. So these units can be recalled to a Nexus, but also towards the mothership, which on its own makes it already a very... Like, they don't share a cooldown, so there's 2 separate recall cooldowns for Protoss. One of them is on the Nexus, that one is shared by every Nexus. And then one of them is on the Mama ship. And that one is a standalone. Lovely control right here once again by Reynor. Fungal growths and, well, a couple feedbacks also. But these Ultras and leftover Lings and Roaches and stuff, putting in a lot of work. These are traits that I think Reynor will be relatively happy with. Backing up again to the safety of the Spine Crawlers. Heavy focus on Spine Crawlers. That being said, though, all of this being said, the late game... Oh, he's actually killing his own Roaches. The late game of Zerg has been made weaker over the years. If you're a ladder hero, you may have been feeling that. I certainly am feeling it as a Zerg ladder hero. I do not enjoy playing Zerg late game anymore. As a matter of fact, I try to avoid it to the best of my abilities. Sometimes to my own demise in my own games. I may be very far ahead, but I push the issue because Zerg late game just feels incredibly hard. It's the little things that make it difficult, like for example, less range on fungal growth and just all of the... Like, all of the changes to the late game that we've seen over the last few years in isolation, not that big of a deal. But everything combined makes it very tough. Yeah, so notice, for example, in the past, we would see Zerg players make tons and tons of Banelings. There have been some Banelings in this game, but the 5 HP nerf and the HP, or the damage reduction rather to like light units, all of it combined makes it just harder for Zerg in the late game than it once used to be. Looks like we do have... Okay, I was going to say, I'm going to back up for just a little bit. I heard the whispers in the background as we were looking here at the Tempest battle at the bottom of the map. In my defense, that's also what ShoWTimE was looking at. I think what we heard right there is those Zerg units taking over. Assimilation successful. I think we gotta cloak some units here to save at least some of them. That is a painful set of losses right here for ShoWTimE. There's finally that cloaking field being activated on the mothership. Fungal growth, though, is going to reveal the units. We have the bubble being popped down as well, so those ultras are still going to have to back off. Well, this is a fight, though, that I think Protoss will win. Yeah, those Immortals, they get absolutely... Oh my god, those ultras get absolutely popped. Stalkers right now trying to snatch a bunch of those Infestor kills before they manage to scurry away. We have a lot of Protoss units still at the bottom of the map, though. I wonder if we should be recalling them up north as well, because it would be really nice to see. It's not like Zerg can really push in here. Instead, ShoWTimE a little late right there on the Tempest control. Decides to once again advance, well, forward here. He did see those Infestors leave. I'd be a little concerned that maybe they're at the bottom of the map right now. Apparently, you guys are just going to be the Janitor crew. Get rid of some of that creep in the bottom left-hand corner. Okay. Okay. What a game. Very late right there on that upgrade is ShoWTimE. I was not quite paying attention there to the upgrades, but that is the +2 air armor. Reynor, in the meantime, we saw him going for that double spire play some time ago. He's going to finish up full research for everything over the next 30 seconds or so. That's going to make his army as powerful as it's going to be. ShoWTimE actually stealing one of the bases of the Zerg. That's amazing. If he can mine this, I just don't see how it's going to happen. But if he can, that would be tremendous. All right. What a game. This is just game number 1, guys. It does not look like it's going to be ending here anytime soon, although I say that. There's a chance that the entire Protoss army is going to accidentally be, taken by the swarm. At which point, those Infestors can seal the deal very rapidly. Oh, God. I'm a little scared of exactly that. So, here's that late-game army of Reynor moving in. Is there enough? Yeah, okay. Good retreat right there by ShoWTimE. Corruptors also do show up. Those Infestors, man. So dangerous. Push over here on the right side of the map, though. This is good. ShoWTimE just cancel. I think if you cancel that base, it's effectively just been like bait, you know? It's just been bait for this base over here to be sniped. Quite a few drones end up going down here. Zergling run by, trying to get some work done, but Zealot should be able to take care of that. Okay, some nice storms, good feedbacks. Great work right here by the German Protoss. I really like what ShoWTimE is doing here. Okay. Reynor has opted not to go for any lurkers in this game. So very commonly do we see lurkers into Brute Lords. Reynor instead decided to go straight into Brute Lords and rely on some Banelings earlier on. But that does make these sorts of attacks, right, a lot more potent. He doesn't really have an option here to go into lurkers anymore either. Because I said he was maxed out. He's maxed out as far as upgrades go for his current army. But he does not have any missile upgrades. So Hydras, lurkers, roaches, that sort of thing is just not really an option. I also don't think he ever intended on making those units, just using the roaches as a stepping stone to get towards those brutes. Okay, a couple zealots here. They're not on attack move on the hatchery itself, so they will get sniped. ShoWTimE is gonna go for another attempt at getting this base. There's another snipe right there on the Brute Lord. He's got just enough Tempest. Apparently the magic number is 6 to one-shot the Brutes. stuff. Okay, here's the fungal growth. Is that good enough? Storm? Storm, 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 storm. Hello? Hello? Why are we not storming? Oh, we have no energy. They're just barely not high enough in energy. In the meantime, all the way up north, massive neural parasites as well. Stalker warp in over here. Look at the Archons trying to change the tide of this battle. Most of the Infestors, though, are running dangerously low on health, and they decide to cancel that ability and run away. Looks like the Tempest War on the left side of the map did go in favor of the Zerg. ShoWTimE moving forward once again. Yeah. You know what? I actually was a little afraid that was the end of the game. But ShoWTimE was very quick on the finger, on his fingers right there, and decided to... Quick on his fingers, that's a saying, right? Quick on the keyboard, and he decided to go after those Infestors that were knurling. There's not a neural parasite coming up, fair enough. Mama Ship is going to be super dead right now. That's minus 300, minus 300. But it certainly has been very effective. More than enough money in the bank right now for ShoWTimE, though, to be able to reinforce this. Plus, he's actually finished up that Nexus at the bottom of the map. I think he's going to start mining it right now. Reynor is dead broke. Reynor's actually dead. Whoa. Okay. This is not the outcome I expected. GG. Beautifully played game right there by our German Protoss, who's now leading this series 1-0 going into hard lead. Okay, I've decided to fast forward through the first 2 minutes of the game because, well, it's a Zerg versus Protoss, so generally speaking, nothing all too interesting happens within the first couple minutes. Reynor opening up quick triple hatch. ShoWTimE is gonna go for a Stargate. You wanna see another magic trick? Look at this. Ta-da! Stargate is done. It's gonna be an Oracle, guys. I can almost smell it. There you go. Yeah, I can smell Oracles. It smells like it's a very cheesy smell. Very moldy. Yeah, you know, like when you back when you used to go to school and you had summer holiday, and then at the end of the summer holiday you would open up your backpack and there would be like one very moldy sandwich that you didn't eat. Right, that's, yeah, that's it, man. Smells like my childhood. Anyways, it's not a very cheesy opener. The analogy would make a lot more sense if these were proxied or something along those lines. Every Protoss unit smells like that to me. People always ask, though, whenever I complain on my own live stream. So I play quite a bit of StarCraft 2, and whenever I complain about Zerg late game, I understand I may be a little bit biased, right? Because I've been playing Zerg 90% of my time in StarCraft 2. Maybe even more than that. Probably like 95%. What exactly makes Zerg late game so hard for your casual run-of-the-mill Grandmasters? Everybody below... I want to say like 6-point-something K MMR. So essentially 99.99999% of the Zerg player base. We struggle microing that late game army. So I'll be the first to admit that in the early and the mid game, a lot of the Zerg unit compositions don't require a ton of hotkeying, right? Hotkeying is nice, but not really a necessity. In the late game, however, when you have to micro your Infestors, your Vipers, you gotta make sure your Corruptors are in the right place. You gotta make sure you have your Queens on the correct location too. You need to have that run by hot. It kind of feels like you go from needing 1, maybe 2 hotkeys, maybe 3 hotkeys in the mid game, to about 5 or 6 in the late game. And since StarCraft 2 is such a fast-paced game, it's very tough. It always kind of feels to me, and this may be my bias, right, that 90% of the spellcasting that Protoss needs to do in the late game is the High Templar. And the High Templar has this... What is this, by the way, ShoWTimE? What in the world are we doing? Massive mistake. What why was that sentry on a little path? Okay, well, free sentry, apparently. For Zerg, you need to micro the Infestor, the Viper, and the Queens individually. And they don't have that, like, automatic, you know, water balloon attack that the High Templar have. So it's very easy to miscontrol them. I usually fat finger my hotkeys at some point and then just mess it up. And obviously, I'm not saying that the late game Protoss army is easy to control. What ShoWTimE did in the previous game, that was beautiful. But I think in order to get like 90% efficiency out of your late game Protoss army, you probably need like 2 control groups. Whereas if you want to get 90% efficiency out of your Zerg army, you probably need like 500 APN and 2 extra arms. This is kind of what it feels like. This is a much worse start right here for ShoWTimE. The previous game was not a good start for him at all, because he didn't really deal any damage, but at the very least he didn't lose anything. Now he's not dealing any damage, but he is losing stuff. 4 drones for an Oracle and a Sentry is not ideal whatsoever. Then again, we are on hard lit. This is not a super easy map for Zerg to attack into, so okay, getting 2 more drones here is nice. Maybe he can justify this opener by playing a, defensive style on the back of this. It's once again charge here, by the way, as his very first upgrade. It's once again a very quick infestation pit on the other side of the map here, too, for Reynor. That's an interesting one. Okay. Sonic Storm, coming right up. Yeah, interesting transition here. So rather than focusing on that quick blink, so now, by the way, this opener is a whole lot better for Protoss. Yeah. So now we have the same losses, but 7 additional worker kills. That's exactly what we want to see here for Protoss. Okay, I think he's justified his opener quite nicely. Quick 4th Nexus as well. Okay, so Reynor is mixing it up. I think he's looking at that previous game too, and he's like, okay, what in the world was I missing? Those Brute Lords were nice. And I will say that Brute Lords and Lurkers have like 95% the same role. But it's not 100%, right? Like, they're both siege-based units that are really good at controlling space. But Lurkers are usually a lot better at, like, keeping around against, for example, Zealot run-bys. You can leave 2 Brute Lords at an expansion to try and deal with a Zealot run-by, but they're not going to do that nearly as well. So I think those... Oh, another Oracle goes down. I think those pushes that we saw from ShoWTimE in the previous game, with that ground-based army on the right side of the map and then the air-based army on the left side of the map, that was really well done by him, but it was only really possible because of the fact that there were no Lurkers. So I think Reynor will probably be playing a similar style here, albeit one without Banelings, but with Lurkers instead. I don't think we have a Baneling nest. Nah. Okay. What sort of changes is that going to spark right here for ShoWTimE? Probably not too many. Second Forge coming up right now. Yeah, I don't suspect we're going to be seeing a little bit of a contamination usage right there. I don't suspect that we're going to be seeing a faster transition towards Skytoss or anything along those lines, although it's not a bad choice. So this game, he has not decided to go for that Zealot Archon push that we saw him go for in game number 1. Instead, he does have a faster Storm, so Storm is already done. Those Hydras are going to have to run away. Although apparently they do want to take down 1 more Observer before they ultimately go home. There's the +1 air weapons, okay. Second Robo facility. This is actually a theme that we've seen quite a bit over the last couple months, where Protoss players purposefully try to get those upgrades going early. I really like it. It's quite common that Protoss players at this level don't start up any Skytoss upgrades until they actually start making Skytoss units. But these upgrades, they're 100 minerals, 100 gas each. So this upgrade over here, they got changed a little bit with the most recent balance patch, and I think it's actually kind of a... It's a cool thing, you know? Like, you can kind of smell, again, okay? Apparently we're using all our senses in today's cast. You can kind of smell where this game is going. And it feels to me like it will lead to Skytoss eventually. And if that's the case, for 100 minerals, 100 gas, I think you can afford starting up that upgrade early, because it makes your units later on so much more powerful. There's the Fleet Beacon. There's also the Nidus network, however. Okay. What are we gonna do, Mr. Reynor? Bold move, Mr. Reynor. It's from the Wings of Liberty campaign, where the coolest character in Wings of Liberty... Nah, maybe not. No. Okay, well, he decides to go for the Nidus Worm over here. This is not quite something that ShoWTimE's ready for, so ShoWTimE is, again, splitting up his units, marching around the map. I love it. But is he prepared against, well, a whole lot of Lurkers that are suddenly breaking into his natural expansion? This could be very difficult to break. That's a lot of Lurkers. I think he only just now really noticed. He did have a couple Stalkers working away at this, but I think they were just chasing that Overseer. This is going to be painful. Okay, I think you actually have to leave. Oh, Reynor decides to double down. Oh, okay. In the meantime, by the way, there is a push over here as well at the front. 15 probes have already gone down. Okay, yeah, those lurkers are all going to disappear. I don't think I liked it. I think he should have gone out. He probably hoped that Protoss decided to bring their entire army back home to try and deal with it. But ShoWTimE, smartly enough, only brought enough units to the natural and kept a bunch of army alive over here to push these roaches and ravagers and hydras and whatnot back at the front. Cool. There's another Nidus Worm, but this time around I think our German Protoss here is going to be more than ready. Yeah, crisis mostly averted. Double Spire here this time around. We'll probably see 2 upgrades here together with a Greater Spire eventually. I think actually we're going to see the Greater Spire first and then double upgrades eventually. The other way around. Anyways. Lurkers are really good at controlling terrain, right? So, like, how in the world do you push up this ramp right now as Protoss? This base is very vulnerable. But, yeah, it's going to take a while before the Zerg will be able to take care of all of this. So I actually don't think a counterattack is a bad option. Okay, a couple Immortals over here. The High Templar even more costly. No storms being used. Now finally do the storms go down. He does pop them into an Archon. Big push towards the other side of the map as well. Yeah, Lurkers. Okay, actually decide to give up on this push. Despite the fact that they had the Protoss player caught off. Or cut off, rather. Or caught off guard as well. He decides to bring them back home because he needs them defensively. One Lurker goes around the side. Excellent movement here once again by ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE is actually showing us some really clever strategic gameplay. I love it. Now he's got carriers coming. Look at that. Carriers on the production tab. +2 air weapons. About 3/4 of the way done. +2 is usually when those carriers become really scary. Especially because in this game, a Reynor only seems to have like 1 evolution chamber, at the very least at the moment, upgrading. No Greater Spire, by the way, so Reynor is just focusing on getting those Corruptors going for now. So it's not going to be Brute Lords and Lurkers. We're going to just go for one of the 2. Okay, Hydra's here, trying their very best. I think he's bleeding out too many expensive units. We've now seen about 5 or 6 High Templar going down for free. Bunch of Archons and Immortals also fell. And I understand there's a lot of chaos. It's not like those traits are free for the Zerg, but it is dangerous. Those are units that Zerg can, generally speaking, Zerg can usually recover those much easier than Protoss can, because it takes a lot of time to reaccumulate all of that energy. Okay. Dude, this is such a Reynor game as well. You try to give this a try in your own game, it's just a disaster. It's so easy to mess this up as the Zerg. 18 probes, 21 probes, 24 probes. Look at the amount of damage he's just doing here with a small group of units. Corruptor transition is well underway. Double upgrades coming up for those bad boys too. So he is ready to snipe those carriers out of the skies. Now the Protoss economy suddenly has been pushed back. ShoWTimE was leading in that department for quite a while, but he's lost 56 workers over the last few minutes. And suddenly, look at that. Zoop. The roller coaster of the income advantage is going all the way in favor of Reynor, who's sitting at 69 workers. Nice. Adrenal glands. Actually a bit late. If we gotta be critical, that adrenal glands upgrade should have already been here. A very large amount of Zerglings showing up here at the bottom of the map. Despite the amount of links, he's completely skipping the Baneling nest. Maybe he's gonna regret it. Well, there's already Vipers out. He harpoons 2 of those, 2 of the carriers. One of the carriers goes down. Second one gets another little lift through the skies. And is gonna be brought a little closer to those Corruptors. Now the Lurkers get, okay, burrowed underneath. Transfusions are going down to desperately try and keep all of this alive. Reynor's done a lot of damage on the other side of the map, but he still needs to address this Protoss army. And the question is, does he have enough? Zerglings are going in for the counterattack. I don't know about them. Yeah, battery overcharge, very handy. Adrenal glands not done yet. Okay, a couple more abductions here. Those Vipers are putting in so much work. ShoWTimE's army is scary, but you know what? After all these carriers are gone, good feedbacks over here. That's a lot of supply caught up in those Corruptors that aren't really going to help out in battle. Keep in mind, there's no Greater Spire, so he can't morph in any Brute Lords. Natural expansion falls right now. Couple of storms being used here as well to zone away. The decision-making from ShoWTimE throughout this series has been excellent. He's doing a phenomenal job. Now, he is giving that Zerg army a lot of time. He decides to chase the tech rather than the army. He could have gone after the army instead, but he decides, no, I'm going to kill the natural and I'm going to kill the main base of the Zerg as well. This is the juicy underbelly of the Zerg, but it is giving Reynor a lot of time to get more lurkers going. Those are going to be the last lurkers, though, because the lurker den just fell. Look at the amount of Templar here as well. That is so many high Templar. Please don't lose them. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, that's far less high Templar now than we had just about 20 seconds ago. Luckily, he went back, because that could have been an absolute disaster. And a heartbreak. Yeah, I think that would break my heart. Yeah. Okay, bit of an immortal drop. Can we maybe make a Nexus again, ShoWTimE? I think we need it. Yeah, Zerg has still got multiple expansions around the map. His tech has been reduced to 0, though, so he's remaking a spawning pool right now at minute 17. Okay, he decides to recall part of his army? How do we feel about recalling part of that army? He couldn't fit all of it, so he decides to leave a lot of units behind. Since there's no mama ship, though, it's making me very uncomfortable. Maybe that's what he should make. For 300, I actually think the mama ship may be his best resource expenditure right now. Lair coming up. I actually think a mama ship would be sick. He has the fleet beacon, he's got the Nexus. Is there a reason not to make a mama ship right now? Is it really not a good enough unit? I guess he's seen that there's Vipers out, so it's a little scary. Yeah. This is still a scary squad. I knew that some of the Corruptors still remained. Maybe not. I take it back. He's double expanding, by the way. So Reynor going up against the Protoss right now, who's slowly trying to take those resources back. Okay, this Nexus gets cancelled preemptively. Lurkers over here are policing this section of the map. Reynor knows there's still a chunk of Protoss inside of his main base. He's waiting, I think, ShoWTimE that is, until that recall is once more available. But when you're waiting for it, that is a... that is such a long cooldown. Usually you just kind of have it available. Unless you're waiting for it. Then it takes what seems to be a year. It's like a microwave minute over here. Microwave minutes takes like twice as long as regular minutes, I swear. That's why I don't own a microwave anymore. This has been a running joke on my live stream for a long time. I don't actually own a microwave. People don't understand how I live my life without a microwave. I don't know, guys. I moved like 5 years ago? 6 years ago at this point? I guess it's 2024. I still haven't really had... Like, there have been a couple occasions where a microwave would have been handy, okay? But usually I just use a pan. Or depending on what it is, just a pot. Or just, I don't know, boiling water, right? I do have an electric kettle. Anyways. The microwave minute is about as long as the recall. It's available now, though, and there they go. Alright, the Protoss units are once again reunited. Everybody rejoice. That took a long time, but ShoWTimE is a patient man. Does he have enough? Storms are coming in. Blinding clouds are landing on top of a lot of the expensive Protoss units too, though. So a lot of these Protoss units are just sort of derping forward. It does look like ShoWTimE is winning this engagement, but that was really pricey. Reynor finally managed to get back up towards a decent amount of tech. He's finally rebuilding his lurkers here, so he's actually just smashed his piggy bank and he's remaxing as quickly as possible. This may actually be a bit of a misread here for ShoWTimE, because that may, in his mind, be the last units that, well, the Zerg player had. In reality, there's a ton of Zerg still coming up in this game. How many Templar do we have? 4 of them. That's actually a pretty good number. Oh, Corruptors. Okay, they were looking for an abduction, but a little afraid. That's 1 Templar down. 2nd Templar gets targeted. Immortal here running dangerously low. That's another Immortal that gets sniped. Reynor is so quick when it comes to sniping those particular units that you're looking for. So that means that these 2 bad boys are the only... Yeah, I think it's... No, there's 1 more. Okay, well, now we just warped in a new one too, but there's only a handful remaining. That's the last carrier going down as well. Greater Spire is nowhere to be seen, of course, so those Corruptors mostly just here to be, I guess, a meat shield. Oh, look at the amount of Zerg. GG is cold. ShoWTimE lost a little too much economy in that base race, so Reynor, playing an amazing game of StarCraft 2, obtains the victory. And that means it all comes down to this. Our final game for today, it takes place on the map Site Delta. I've decided to skip the first 3.5 minutes of this game. Is that too much? Anyways, I can sum up what happened in this game very quickly, okay? It's a triple hatch opener for the Zerg. It's a standard opener here for Protoss, who's now gonna try and take a third. There you go. You've missed nothing. Oracle is even gonna be used defensively too, so I've got a feeling I could have skipped through the first, yeah, maybe 4.5. You just skipped the entire early game. I usually try to think, right? Whenever I skip part of the early game of a game of StarCraft 2, I usually try to think, okay, what would I have personally liked to see skip? Like, sometimes I watch other people cast games. I know, this may be a surprise to some of you, but there are other people that cast games of StarCraft 2. I know. Don't subscribe to them, though. Just subscribe to my channel, of course, naturally. All jokes aside, sometimes they, like, include the entire game, and I find myself fast-forwarding to a certain point in the game, right? So I basically try to fast forward to the point where I would have fast forwarded to. So hopefully that will make the videos a little bit more enjoyable to watch. Not a good start right here for ShoWTimE. Takes a lot of hull damage right now on one of those oracles. Okay. Yeah, okay. Gets 2 drones over here. Adepts do shade in. Maybe these can get something done. A lot of them did take damage though. Not in love with this. Nope. 5 drones for that much damage. Oh, he even lost an oracle. Was that low HP one? It must have been the low HP one. Yeah. Okay, he lost an oracle and then 5 adepts in total in this game for 5 drones and 5 links. That is not what you're looking for here. No lair yet here for Reynor, by the way. That's a bit interesting. Okay, 5 minutes and 25 seconds is when that lair finally starts. Evolution chamber together with a roach warren on the back of this. Okay. Yeah, obviously I would not be skipping any of the early game if there were still a lot of new viewers coming in to StarCraft 2. And there are definitely still new viewers coming in. So if you are confused about certain things that I do, please let me know down below in the comment section. I'm always looking for feedback. I'm always looking at ways that I can hopefully make these videos better. So if you have anything where you're like, oh, Lowko, this is something you should look into, I may very well not follow your advice, but I am certainly down to hear it. So if you have something, anything, let me know down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well while you're at it, okay? It really does help. I know it's annoying whenever I ask, but it really does help. Anyways, obviously if, yeah, you haven't seen, but I'm assuming most people that watch these videos have like a decent frame of reference when it comes to the Zerg versus Protoss matchup. And if you didn't, I think game number 1 and 2 of this series give you a pretty good indicator of what this matchup usually looks like earlier on. So yeah, watching every single game from minute 0 is probably not really necessary. Once again, charge. Interesting decisions right here for ShoWTimE. So I love the way he's playing this. I think he's showcasing us some excellent gameplay. Some of the best PvZ I've seen. And interestingly enough, unlike, for example, the heroes or the max Paxes of this world, he is not going for Blink as his first upgrade in the Twilight Council, but he's focusing on the +1 upgrade together with Charge. So the +1 with Charge, the +1 in general, it allows Zealots to 2-shot unupgraded Zerglings rather than 3-shot them. So normally it takes a Zealot 3 hits to kill a Zergling. With the +1 upgrade, it only takes them 2 hits, which makes them substantially better. So I guess if you're looking at this and you're like, hey, this could be a Zergling-based army, and I want to play defensively. Like, historically, we've mostly seen charge upgrades being used as a way to, like, do a timing attack. But not quite the case here. Now, despite the fact, though, that Reynor has gotten a very late lair. Okay, he's going pre-8-minute hive, and he's going into 11 Mutalisks. So his lair was very late, and then he's like, yo, I can just go into a quick hive and still make mutas regardless. So this is a lot of mutas all at once. Usually whenever it's a muta opener, we see maybe 8 or so at most. But this is 11 of them. Now, it does get scouted, the Spire that is. Photon cannons start up. Yep, okay. So ShoWTimE is putting his opponent here on the right unit composition. He's already got photon cannons Yeah, sealing every base off. Not bad whatsoever. Mutas are gonna try and fly in right now. This is a big commitment right now for Reynor, but look at the bank. Look at the resources. Look at the supply count at the moment. ShoWTimE not off to as great a start in this game as what we've seen so far in this series. Suddenly, this is gonna be a lot of Zerg units that are knocking at his front door. If you don't play a clean early game, the mid game becomes significantly harder to play. And if Zerg decides to go for a timing attack, it might just be too much. Look at the creep spread. Reynor is basically gobbling up this entire map. He's going Hive, he's going Lurker Den. This man, there's no brakes on this train, okay? This man is teching up incredibly fast, building in a ridiculous economy, and getting so many units going. Jumping this army as well. I think he's ready for a transition towards Lurkers here, but he might just smell blood in the water and just double down on Roach Ling and win the game right here, right now. This is what happens when your early game is shaky at best. Mutas get very little done, but at the same time, it did force a ton of static defense that is ultimately going to be a lot of money that's caught up into things that aren't attacking units. So ShoWTimE, yeah, he's not taking a lot of damage from the Mutalisks. He's only lost 7 probes in this game so far, but his army is looking very small. Does he have Storm done yet? I'm assuming he does. Yeah, he does have Storm. He may have already used Storm, actually. I may have just not noticed it, but storming Roaches and Ravagers is shaky to say the least. Okay, he decides to morph the units into Archons instead. Another Immortal misrallied, so that one, okay, takes a lot of damage. Looks like it will stay alive for now. Okay, ShoWTimE actually holds. That was very important. The creep spread is looking ridiculous, though. Lurker upgrades coming up together with Hydra upgrades. +2 missile is going to finish up. Look at the quick tech transitions here. No, the natural expansion's wide open. Reynor runs in, gets what seems to be a free Immortal. He will gladly trade a bunch of Zerglings, although, ooh, that's cute. ShoWTimE lifting up his own Immortal with his Phoenixes. Yes, that's something you can do, although it's not gonna save it. Very nice play right there. But it's a situation you don't want to be in. ShoWTimE taking a page out of Hero's book there. Does not leave units in the choke point, and that's ultimately gonna allow a lot of these units to just run in. Lurker transition well underway. Ranged upgrade at this point, 4 dam is done. Creep spread is looking ridiculous. Yeah, when Reynor gets a flying start like he did in this game, he looks insanely hard to beat. Like, the solution for Protoss is to not have a shitty early game. Just trying to make the best of this scenario, though. Coming in from every angle, ShoWTimE. Okay, maximizes the damage that his army can do, but the... They're basically at the Protoss intersection over here. Lurkers in this position are near impossible to break in a good game, right? And this is not an easy one here for ShoWTimE whatsoever. So more Lurkers are coming up. Queens have been brought all the way to the front. Natural expansion still wide open. Hello, ShoWTimE. Okay. We do have some transfusion energy, so at the very least that's going to keep a few of these Lurkers alive. Lurkers don't even have their full upgrades yet. Reynor apparently is not gonna get the speedy burrow improvement. 1 shield battery. Oh no. Immortals trying their very best, not getting much done. Battery overcharge though is helping out quite a bit. Phoenix is somehow, some way still around. But ShoWTimE is holding on by the skin of his teeth. Reynor is just all over this army. And ultimately, it's the young Italian who obtains the victory 2-1 over ShoWTimE in a phenomenal series.